morning, race fans. It is session 2 of Season of Champions. It's a special edition here at the Horsepower Racing Network on Let's Do Dirt, and we're here with J.R. Mason, our 2012 season champion for modifieds, and with Kyle Clark, our season champion for four-cylinder warriors. Guys, it's really good to be with you today, and JR, especially, we're glad to have you welcome us in your shop here. This is where it all starts. You know, you've been doing this for a long time. You're still just a young kid in our eyes, okay? But I'd write a large check to have your age and have your future. Talk about what got you started in racing. And just bring us up to speed. I mean, you're so young, 16 years old, but you've been doing this all your life.
Yeah, my dad, he's always had late models and had people drive for him. And I've always wanted to race my mom said I had to wait till I was 8. And I turned 8. Me and my dad got and bought a junior mini sprint and we raced them for a while. And then we moved up to street stocks. We raced street stocks for 3 years and we went for national title. The last year we raced and we won quite a bit in street stocks. Then we moved up to modifieds, and this is my second year in modifieds, and it's went good.
It's an absolutely amazing story that we've been following you these years in racing. Kyle Clark, what's going on in your world today, buddy?
Just trying to make it day to day, you know. The off season was kind of slow. I'm just ready to get back out there and race.
Well, you know, you're a multiple champion at Paducah International Raceway, a 2-time champion, and you race in the four-cylinder warrior class. Now, a lot of people think that the four-cylinder warrior class is a beginner class, and maybe it is, but you know what? It's one of my favorite classes. Talk about what your feelings about the four-cylinder class and how we can promote that at Paducah International Raceway. To me, it looks like it's a blank billboard just waiting for big things to happen.
I think the four-cylinder class it's kind of takes you back to the old days, you know, like when they was building actually. I mean, I think on Days of Thunder, the crew chief said code trickle or whatever, you know, there ain't nothing stock about a stock car. And well, you know, that's what we're driving is a stock car. I mean, there ain't as much to them as it is to like a modified or anything, but it's just a whole lot of fun, and I've been fortunate to have some success at it. I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got several more questions for you about the four-cylinder class because I'm quite interested in that four-cylinder class. I might even join you maybe. Well, not me personally, but HRM, I would love to put a car in that class. It says Dirt Modified Magazine, and the first word I see on the top, first name I see, is J.R. Mason. J.R., talk about what it means to be nationally publicized and be your age and what it means to your future.
I'm fortunate that I had the opportunity to get to be in that magazine. They contacted us back in the summer and they've been working on it. I just can't thank everyone that made it possible I can be in it. I'm glad I got to be in the Modified magazine because it's something good. It's nice to be in something like that.
It's a great achievement. Let's go back to four-cylinder warrior class. Now, I get asked this question many, many times. Why are all the cars front-wheel drive in your four-cylinder Warrior class?
That's we've had a few rear-wheel drives come out there, and they didn't really stand up to the front-wheel drive that good. But I think you got to set your car up a little more if you drive a rear-wheel drive. But I mean, if you think about it, a lot of the four-cylinders produced are front-wheel drive cars. I mean, especially nowadays, you know, there's not too many rear-wheel drive. But I think it's a little different driving a front-wheel drive than than a rear-wheel drive.
Oh, I'm sure it's a lot different driving a front-wheel drive. And I guess I'm a throwback. I come from the old school thing, you know, the Mustangs, rear-wheel drive, and of course, and you could do a four-cylinder, Volkswagen even, you know, rear-wheel drive, even rear engine. But a lot of times we sit up in the media center and watch how you guys negotiate the track, and it seems like with a wet track and basically a flatter track like you're running on, that the front-wheel drive does a good job. How do you think rear-wheel drive would affect you guys if you had two or three in there mixed in with the front-wheel drives?
Well, it's the rear-wheel drives. They like to, you know, they swing. The rear end swings out a little more in the turns and everything. So like when I go into a turn, I just kind of tap the brake a little bit, and that left front kind of locks up, throws me into the turn, and then I'm back on the gas a little bit. And then a rear-wheel drive, I've never drove one a four-cylinder, so I don't know how they would handle, but I think it'd be interesting. I mean, I think when at the drop of a green flag, I think the front-wheel drive would have the advantage. But if a rear-wheel drive could get set up right and correctly, I think it'd be you know, a tight race between the two.
We may have opened up a proverbial bag of worms here with that question, huh? JR, we've been talking a little bit about what you've got coming up, and I know you're headed to Florida to do some racing and some things. Can you kind of tell us what you have planned before the season, even that we begin at Paducah International?
Plan on going back to Florida, and I plan on trying to make at least one show. And if we make more, I'll be excited. Even if we don't, it's still going to be a fun trip. My goal this year is just to win features and try winning my region, and just try to race as many tracks as I can.
It just still amazes me to sit here, talk to you guys, and look across at JR and know that he's still hardly 16 years old. January the 5th,
Yeah.
he's 16 years old, has a brand new truck sitting up front, and he can't drive it yet.
But that's twice as much racing experience as I do.
Exactly. It's like, who are the old heads out there racing? And you know, J.R. Mason has to be listed in, you know, included in that list. That's quite an accomplishment. So, Kyle, you're already a two-time champion in your four-cylinder class. There's a lot that can be done in the four-cylinder classes. In a lot of ways we can improve that class. And like I say, to me, it is truly one of my favorite classes that we have out there. Do you have any aspirations or is there any plans to move to a different class or stay and dominate the class that you're so good in?
Well, I feel like my luck in the four-cylinder division is bound to run out sometime, and I'm not financially able to move up. I would like to move up, but it's like I said earlier, you know, if I can't move up, I want to be one of the guys you got to beat, and I've tried my butt off to make that happen these past few years. I mean, this is only my third full season of racing, so I'm trying to make a name for myself, you know.
It's Kyle Clark in the K2. There you go, get the right cap out and climb out of that race car. Kyle Clark taking the win here this evening. Matt Hartman in the second spot, Brandon Snyder third, fourth was Johnny Whiting. But Kyle Clark currently sits number 2 in the track points, taking the win. Your point leader currently in the second spot. Smile a little bit there, Kyle.
You brought up a really good point from the movie, and the statement was, "There ain't nothing stock about a stock car." Well, that's racing in general. It's not just JR's class. Obviously, the modified car is nothing stock. It's a complete from the ground up. It's its own animal. Your guys are kind of that way a little bit. I know you can't do much to your engines, but let's face it, there's things that you can tweak into those cars, even those go-karts sitting over there, to make it a non-stop car. Can you explain anything about how you go about setup time for your car to prepare for a race?
Setup, a lot of it, since you can't modify the motor or anything, a lot of the setup as far as gear ratio and whatnot is the size tire and size wheel you run. So I kind of experiment with that. I think I got what I need for PIR down. But when I go to other tracks, that's what I experiment with, is the tire size.
So you can make that car turn left.
And well, it's not that, it's the RPMs, you know. You put a big tire on there for like a big track, because you're going to reach, you know, higher speeds. If you put a little tire on there, then you're going to top out before you get halfway down the straight stretch, you know. But I mean, there's a few things you can do and get away with, but there ain't much.
You know, one thing that I noticed in the race world, actually in the motorsports world, is our embracing of the social media. And it seems like all of us are sitting there with our smartphones now to one another. How has this affected either of you with your race base fan, you know, your race fan base, or your communication with everybody else? I know that in your class, for instance, JR, there's quite a following for different cars. Don't ever doubt that there's quite a following for you guys too, because HRN is up there going crazy for the four-cylinders every week. But as you move into the larger classes, there is this certain fan base that you have and that you develop. How has social media affected JR Mason?
It's affected a bunch because like we have a Facebook page for JR Mason Racing. You can keep in contact with all your fans, and you grow fans that way by including them. You can grow a bigger fan base. Just keep them in contact with you.
Yes, he's getting ready to celebrate. I want to know about a move for Levi Kissinger for that standing run, coming home in second gear. All he got is neither one of them left anything on the table there, Mark. And the kicker is jubilant. That home is all young J.R. Mason of Buckley, ready to come out of the car. First time ever run electric relay. Here tonight, Jason, with my five. J.R. Mason picking up their first feature win trophy for the modified. Let's hear it now.
What does having fans mean to Kyle Clark?
It means a whole lot, really. I mean, I'm glad I can do what I love to do, and if people cheer for me, hey, that's awesome.
And you know it, by the way, too. When you're in that race car and the fans are cheering for you, they may not think you know that, but you guys do know that, right? Well, that's awesome. Anything else you'd like to, any secrets you'd like to tell us or give away that's coming up? We always like to have, that new backstory. I'm tight-lipped on that. We're not going to tell anything about that. Well, I'll tell you what, one more question. I like to ask this to everybody that I interview, and it's always fun for the fans out there to know. You guys got any pre-race rituals that you go through every time that you get in that car? Well, we'll start with you, Kyle.
Well, there's a few items of clothing. I try to wear the same. If I won, I try to wear the same thing, or like one thing, I shave the night before. race. I started doing that, and then I won, I think, 3 in a row, and then it kind of fell through for me, but I still do it anymore.
Feel over there and see if JR needs to shave.
I don't think he's ready yet.
JR, what about you? I know you've bound to have something over the years that you've raced. You've bound to have some little quirk that you do every time.
I have a lucky hat. That's what I call it. I've had it ever since I started racing, and I never raced a race without it. I always have it with me. And I don't know, it's just one of the things.
Well, who said race car drivers are not superstitious? Well, race fans, there you have it. Session 2 of Season of Champions here with J.R. Mason, our champion of modified division at Paducah International Raceway, and Kyle Clark, the champion of four-cylinder warriors. And we're glad to have both of these guys with us and look forward to a lot of years ahead of both of them in their race careers. We're glad to have you with us again, and we'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas. And this is a special edition of Let's Do Dirt here on the Horsepower Racing Network.